Alright, CFR 49, Part 227, Occupational Noise Exposure, Subpart A, General, 227.1, Purpose Scope, 227.3, Application, 227.5, Definition, 227 Preemptive Effect, 227.9, Penalties, 227.11, Responsibility for Compliance, 227.13, Waivers, 227.15, Information Collection, Subpart B, Occupational Noise Exposure to Railroad Operating Employees, 227.101, Scope of the Applicability, 227.103, Noise Monitoring Program, 227.105, Protection of Employees, 227.107, Hearing Conservation Program, 227.109, Audiometric Testing Program, 227.111, Audiometric Testing Requirement, 227.1130, Noise Operation Control, 227.11.5, Hearing Protectors, 227.11.7, Hearing Protector Actuation, 227.119, Training Program, 227.121, Record Keeping, Appendix A, Part 227, Noise Exposure Computation, Appendix B, Part 227, Method of Estimating Adequacy, Hearing and Protector Actuation, Appendix C, Part 227, Audiometric Baseline Revision, Appendix B, Part 227, Audiometric Test Rooms, 227, Appendix E, Part 227, using insert error phones for audiometric testing. Alright, Appendix F, Part 227, Calculation and Application for the Aid for the Correction of the Autograms. Appendix G, Part 227, Schedule of Civil Penalties. Authority, Title 49, U.S. Standard Code 20103, 20103. Note that 20701 to 20702, Title 28, U.S. Standard Code 2461. Note in Title 49, CFR 1.49. Source, 71 Federal Registry 63123, October 27, 2006, unless otherwise noted. Alright, Subpart A, 227.1, Purpose and Scope. The purpose of this part is to protect the occupational health and safety of the employees of predominant noise exposures in the locomotive cab. The part of describing the minimum federal health and safety noise standard for the locomotive cab occupants. The part does not restrict the railroad and railroad contract adopting and enforcing additional more stringent requirements. 227.3 Application. Except for this provided with the paragraph B of this section, this part applies with all the railroad contracted railroads. B, the part does not apply with the railroad that operates only the track inside the installation that now on part of the general railroad system transportation. 2, a railroad transit operation in an urban area that is not connected with the general railroad system of the transportation. 3, the railroad transportation operation in an urban area that is not connected with the general system operates under a shared waiver. And 4, a railroad that operates in tourist, scenic, historic, excursion operations, whether in on or off the general railroad system transportation. 5. Foreign railroad operation meets the following conditions. Employing of the foreign railroad has the primary reporting unit, reporting point outside of the U.S., but are operating trains on the conducting switching operation for the U.S. The government of that foreign railroad has implemented requirements for the hearing conservation for the railroad employees. The foreign railroad undertakes to comply with those of requirements while operating with the U.S. and the FRA Associated Administrative Safety to determine that the foreign requirements are consistent with the purposes and scope of the part the foreign railroad prefers to the railroad that is incorporated with the place outside of the U.S. and operated out of the foreign country, operates but some of the distance in the U.S. Definitions. As used in this part, action level means the 8-hour time-weighted average sound level of 85 decibels, equivalent to those of 50%, integrating with all the sound levels to 80 decibels to 140 decibels. Administrator means the Administrative Federal Railroad Administration or the Administrator's Delegate. Artifact means that any signal received the record of noise measuring instrument that is not related with occupational noise exposure may adversely impact the accuracy of the occupational noise measure. Audiogram means the record audiometric testing showing the threshold hearing sensitivity measuring discrete frequencies as well as other record keeping information. Otologist means the professional who provides a comprehensive diagnostic treatment of the rehabilitative services, auditory, vestibular, and related impairments of the WHO. 1 master degree doctoral and degree in audiology and license as an otologist by the state, or in the case of the individual furnishes and services of the state, which is designing licensed otologist with successfully completed 350 clock hours of the supervised clinical practicum, or is in the process of accumulating such the supervised clinic experience first formed not less than 9 months of the supervised full-time audiology service after the obtaining the master's doctoral degree in audiology and related to field, successfully completed with the National Examination Audiology and approved with the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Resource Services. Audiometry means the active process measuring hearing sensitivity at Create frequencies. Audiometry can also be referred to as audiometric testing. Baseline audiogram means the audiogram that recorded with the accordance with the statute 227.109 against with the subsequent audiograms are compared with the determinate extent of the change with the hearing level. Class 1, Class 2, Class 3 railroads have the meaning assigned with the regulation with the Surface Transportation Board, Title 49 CFR Part 120, General Instructions 1.1. Continuous noise means the variation of sound level involved in the maximum interval of 1 second or less. Decibel means the unit of the measurement of the sound pressure. Decibels means the sound pressure level of decibels measured at a weighted scale. Employee means an individual will engage and compensate with the railroad or by contractor with the railroad to perform any of the duties defined in this part. Exchange rate means for the change of the sound level of decibels, which would require having or doubling or their allowable exposure for the time to maintain with the same noise dose. The purpose of this part is to exchange is 5 decibels. The FRA means the Railroad Administration. A hearing protector means any device or material which is capable of being worked on the head of the covering of the ear or the canal insert, but the ear canal is designed wholly in part with the reduce the level of the sound entering the ear and scientifically accept the indicator of the noise reduction valve. Hertz means the unit of measurement of frequency numerically equal to the cycles in per second. Medical pathology means a condition of disease affecting the ear which is medically and surgically treatable. Noise operation controls means a method that used to reduce the noise exposure to other hearing protective equipment is modification of the requirement reducing the time of the person exposed to excessive noise. Occasional service means the service is not more than a total of 20 days in the calendar day year. Otolaryngologist means a physician specializing in diagnosis of treating a disorder of the ear, nose, and throat. Periodic audiogram is a record of the following up with the audiometric testing conducted with a regular interval with after the baseline audiometric test. Person means any type of the covered in Title 1 U.S. Standard Code, including but not limited to follow the railroad manager, supervisor, official, other employee, agent of the railroad, any owner, manufacturer, leaser, or lessor of the railroad equipment, track from the facilities, independent contractor providing goods, service of the railroad, or any employee, such owner of the manufacturer, leaser, or lessor, independent contractor. Professional, supervised with the audiometric monitoring program, and in hearing conservation program means the otologist, otolaryngologist, physician experiencing expertise in hearing and hearing loss. Qualified technician is a person who is certified with the Council of Accreditation, Occupational Hearing Conservation, equal to the organization, satisfactory, demonstrated competency in administering audiometric exams, obtaining the valid audiograms properly, using the maintain, checking, calibration, proper functions of audiometry, audiometers used, the responsible, the professional supervisor of the audiometric testing program. Railroad means any form of non-highway ground transportation that runs on rails, electromagnetic guideways, any of the entity providing with such transportation, including one commuter other than short-haul railroad passenger in the metropolitan suburban area of the commuter railroad service that was operated with the Consolidated Railway Corporation in January 1st, 1979. High-speed transportation with the connecting the metropolitan with regard whether those systems of technologies associated with the traditional railroads. The term railroad is also intended with the means of the person that provide with the transportation of the railroad, whether directly or with the contracting out of the operation railroad to another person. The term does not include the rapid transit operation in the urban area that are not connected with the general railroad system of the transportation. Representative personal sampling means the measurement of the employee's noise exposure that representative of the exposure of other employees who are operating similar equipment with under similar conditions. Sound level, sound pressure level means the 10 times the common logarithm of the ratio with the square of the measure of the weight with a weighted sound pressure with the square of the standard preference pressure with the 20 micropascals measure in decibels. Purpose of the regulation is slow time response in accordance with the ANASA and American National Society Institute S1 43 1997 reaffirmed in 2002. The specification integrating and averaging sound level of the meters is required by the Director of the Federal Register approved. They incorporated the reference standard for the section in accordance with the Title 5 U.S. Standard Code 552 A and Title 1 CFR Part 51. You may obtain a copy of the incorporated standard for the American National Standard Institute at 1819 L Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. 236 or www.ansi.org. You may inspect the copy of the incorporated standard for the Federal Railroad Administration, docket 1200 New Jersey Avenue, Southeast Washington, D.C. 20590 at the National Archives Records Administration or NARA. For information availability with the material NARA, call 202-704-16030 or go to archives.gov, Federal Register, Code of Federal Regulations, IBR locations. Standard threshold shift, STS, means that changing the hearing sensitivity of the words of the relatively baseline audiogram, the relatively in the most recent revised baseline, whether one has established an average of the 10 decibels or more than at 2,000, 3,000, and 4,000 hertz in either ear. Time weighted average 8 hour. TWA means the sound level to which over 8 hours results in the same noise dose that measured for the purpose of this part, exchanging the rate in 5 decibels. Towards scenic historic excursion, the operation means railroad operation. The care of the passenger with the antiquated equipment with the convenience of the passenger, particularly with the destination not being particular purpose. Preemptive effect. Under Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 20106, the issuance of the regulation preemptive state law regulation under the covering the same subject matter, except the additional more stringent law regulations in order with the necessary with eliminate reducing essential local safety hazards not capable of law regulation in order with the United States government does not impose an unreasonable burden on the interstate commerce. Penalties. Any person who violates the requirement of the part with cause of the violation, any such requirement is subject to a civil penalty at least $650, not more than $25,000 per violation, except for the penalties may be assessed against the individual only for the willful violation where grossly negligent violation or pattern of repeated violations has created an imminent hazard, death, and injury to the person that has caused the death or injury. A penalty not exceeding $105,000 per violation may be assessed each day of the violation continues shall constitute separate offense. See Appendix G of this part with the statement of the agency. Civil penalty. B. Any person under the knowingly, willfully satisfied with the record of the report required for the part of the subject of the criminal penalties under Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 2131. 22711 responsibility compliance. Although the duties imposed for the part of the generally state with the terms of duty of railroad, any person, including the contractor of the railroad who performs the function covered with the past part, must perform the function in accordance with this part. 22713 waivers. A person shall fit the requirement of the parts of the petition with the administrator with the waiver of compliance with such requirements of the following such for the petition does not affect the person responsible for the compliance that with requirements with the petition is being considered. Each petition with the waiver under the section must be filled with the manner of the containing of the information required in Part 211 of the chapter. If the administrator finds with the waiver of compliance with the public interest consistent with the railroad safety of the administrator may grant with the waiver subject to any condition the administrator deems necessary. Alright, 22715, information collection. The information collection requirements of this part reviewed by the Office of Management Budget pursuant to the Paperwork Reduction Act of 1980, but is assigned by the OMB control number 2130 with the information collection requirements are found in the following sections: 22713, 227-103, 227-107, 227-109, 227-11, 1, 227-11-7, 227-11-9, and 227-121. Alright, subpart B, occupational noise exposure for the railroad operating employees. Scope is 227-101. Scope of the applicability. Subpart shall apply with the noise-related working condition. Any person regularly the person service is subject to the provision for the hours of service laws governing the train employees, and but the subject of the railroad's election of the paragraph A3 of the section does not apply. 1. Employees who have the locomotives only with the confirms the locomotive the repairing service areas for the provided in the statute 218-5 and 218-29A of the chapter. The employees who move the locomotive group of the locomotives from distance less than 100 feet of the incidental movement of the locomotives for inspection or maintenance purposes, or 3. Contractors who operate with the historical equipment occupational service provided with the contractors have been provided with the hearing protector with the necessary required for the hearing the protectors while operating with the historical equipment. Any direct supervisor with the person described in paragraph A1 of the section whose duties are required for the frequent work with the locomotive cab. And 3. Selection of the railroad any other person including excluding A1 of the section whose duties require frequent with work in the locomotive cab whose primary noise exposure responsibly expected an experience of the cab in the position occupied by such a person designated the writing by the railroad as prescribed as required in the statute 227-121D. Occupational noise exposure hearing conservation employees not covered under the subpart governed by the appropriate operating occupational noise exposure regulation U.S. Department of Labor Occupational Safety Health Administration at Title 29 CFR 1910-95 Noise Monitoring Program. Schedule. A railroad shall develop and implement the noise monitoring program to determine whether an employee covered by the scope of the subpart may be exposed to the noise that may equal and exceed the 8-hour time and TWA of the 85 decibels in accordance with the following schedule. Class 1 passenger commuter with the railroads no later than February 26, 2008. Railroads of 400,000 annual employees that are annual employee hours that are not Class 1 passenger commuter railroads no later than August 26, 2008. Railroads with fewer than 400,000 annual employees no later than August 26, 2009. Sampling strategy. The monitoring program, the railroad shall use with the sampling strategy designing and identifying the employees' inclusion with a hearing conservation program to enable the proper selection for the hearing and protection. Where circumstances are high, workability, mobility, significant variation, sound level, and significant component of impulses noticed with the make area monitoring generally inoperative with the railroad shall represent with the personal sampling to comply with the monitoring requirements of the section unless the railroad can show the area sampling producing equivalent results. Noise measurement. All continuous intermittent impulse sound level of 80 decibels to 140 decibels shall be integrated with the noise measurement. Noise measurement shall be made under the type of the operation condition. Sound level meter conforming with the minimum of the requirements of the ASSI SS1 for 1983 reaffirmed 2001, incorporated with the reference of statute 227-103H for the type of the 2, and set with into the A-weighted slow response 2. Integrated sound level meter conform with the minimum to the requirements of the ASSI S1 43 1997, incorporate type 2 and set in the A-weighted slow response. A noise decimeter conforming to the minimum of the requirements of the ASSI S1 25 1991 comport with the reference and set with a weighted slow response. All instruments measured with employee noise exposure with the calibrated to ensure the accurate measurements. The railroad shall repeat the noise monitoring consistent with the requirements of the section whenever the change of the operation process equipment controls increase with noise exposure to the extent that the additional employees may expose above the action level of the actuation provided with the hearing protectors being if the employees may inadequate to meet the requirements of the statute 227-103 and administrative of the monitoring of the program. The related railroad should take into consideration the identification work environment that where the hearing protector that may be implemented. Observation and monitoring the railroad shall provide effective employees the representative with the opportunity to observe the noise dose and measurement conducted pursuant to this section. Reporting monitoring results. Railroad shall notify each of the monitoring employee of the result of the monitoring. 2. The railroad shall post the monitoring result for the appropriate group of the origination of the point of the minimum of 30 days. The posting should include the sufficient information to permit the other crews in understanding the meaning of the result of the context, operation, monitoring, incorporation reference. The materials listed in the section incorporated by the reference and corresponding sections noted that these incorporation by the reference were approved by the Director of the Federal Register in accordance with the Title 5 U.S. Standard Code 552A and Title 1 CFR Part 51. You may obtain a copy of the incorporated material with American National and Standard Institute, 1819 L Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. 236, or at dansa.org. You may inspect the copy of the incorporated standard of the Railroad Administration Docket 1200 New Jersey Avenue, Southeast Washington, D.C. 20590 at the National Archives Record Administration, NARA. For the information availability of the material, NARA 202-741-6030 or archives.gov Federal Register, Code Federal Regulations of the IBR limit locations, HTML. Alright, ANSI S1 for 1983, specification sound level of the meters incorporated the reference approved by the statute 227-103C2-1. ANSI That's 143-1997. The specification integrated with the average sound level of the meters IBR approved for 22-27-103C 2 ANSSI S125-1991 specification personal noise decimeter IBR approved for the section 272 227 and 103C 3. 227-105, protection of employees. A railroad should provide appropriate protection for the employees exposed with noise and measured, and according to the statute 227-103, exceed the limits specified in the Appendix A, with this part assessing whether the exposure for the exceed 115 decibels or 4 paragraph of the section Appendix A of the apparent source for the noise exposure shall be observed. The document measure for the artifacts may be removed, except for the set forth in paragraph D of the section. Exposure for the continuous noise shall not exceed 115 decibels. Exposure for the continuous noise greater than 115 decibels equal to or less than 120 decibels are permissible provided totally daily duration not exceeding 5 seconds. 227-107. Hearing Conservation Program. Consistent with the requirement of the noise monitoring of the required for the statute 227-103, the railroad shall administer the continuing effect of the Hearing Conservation Program as set forth in 227-109 through 227-129 for all the employees exposed with the noise above the action level. For the purpose of the Hearing Conservation Program, employee noise exposure shall be computed within accordance with the table of Appendix A of this part without regarding the attenuation provided with the use of the hearing protectors. 227-109. Audiometric testing. Each of the railroad shall establish and maintain audiometric testing programs set forth in the section, including the employees who are required to include the Hearing Conservation Program pursuant to statute 227-107. B. The cost of audiometric tests shall be provided. No cost to employees. Test audiometric tests shall be performed. An audiologist, otolaryngologist, or the physician experienced expertise of the hearing and loss of the qualified technician. D. Reserved. E. Baseline audiogram. The paragraph E. Reply for the employees who are required in statute 227-107 to be included in the Hearing Conservation Program. A new employee except for the provided with the paragraph E1 2 for the employees hired for the February 27th of 2007 will establish the valid baseline audiogram within 6 months for the new employee first tour of duty. 2. The mobile test of the vans used will meet the requirements of paragraph E11 for the railroad shall establish the very valid baseline audiogram with 1 year for the new employee's first tour of duty. Existing employees for all the employees without a baseline autogram as of February 27, 2007. If it's a Class 1 passenger commuter railroads and railroads with 400,000 more annual employees shall establish a valid baseline autogram by February 26, 2009. Railroads with less than 400,000 annual employees shall establish the valid baseline autogram by February 26, 2010. If an employee has baseline autogram with the February 26, 2007 outlined under the conditions that satisfy the requirements found in Title 29 CFR 1910-95H, the railroad must use the baseline autogram. 3. If the employee has been a baseline autogram with the February 26, 2007 is obtained under the conditions satisfied with the requirements of Title 29 CFR 1910-95H1, but not requirements found in Title 29 1910-95H2 through 5, railroad may elect to use the baseline autogram provided with a professional supervisor of the autometric monitoring program. Reasonable determination baseline autogram, the value of the clinical, consistent with the automatic material of the employee medical file. 3. Testing and establish a baseline autogram expects to proceed with the release of the 14 hours with exposure to occupational noise excessive with the action level. Hearing protectors may be used with a substitute with the requirement of the baseline autograms proceeding with 14 hours with exposure to occupational noise. The railroad shall notify the employee of the need to avoid high levels of non-occupational noise exposure during 14-hour period immediately preceding autometric examination. Alright, 5. Periodic autograms. 1. The railroad shall offer the automatic test to each of the employee, included with the hearing conservation program, at least one each for the calendar interval between the date offered with the employee of the test and calendar year with the day of the offered with the subsequent calendar year with not more than 450 days, no less than 280 days. The railroad shall require an employee included with the hearing conservation program to take an automatic test at least once every 1,905 days. Evaluation autogram. Each of the employee's periodic autograms shall be compared with the employee's baseline autograms determined with the autogram the valve to determine the standard threshold of the shift of the occurred with the comparison may be done with a qualified technician. If the periodic autogram demonstrates the standard threshold, a railroad may obtain the retest for the 90 days. The railroad may consider the result of the retest of the periodic autogram. The audiologist, otolarian, and audiologist physician review of the problem autogram shall determine whether there is need for further elevation. The railroad shall provide all the following information with the person forming this review. The baseline autogram of the employee to be evaluated. The most recent autogram of the employee to be evaluated through measurement in the background sound pressure of the level in the autometric test room is required for the Penalties D with the SPAR autometric test room. For records of the autometer calibration required in the statute 227-111 and following up the procedure of the comparison of periodic autogram and the base autogram indicate the standard threshold shift that has occurred with the railroad shall inform the employees written within 30 days of the determination unless the physician and audiologist determines the standard threshold shift is not work related or aggravated by the occupational noise exposure. The railroad shall ensure the following steps are taken. Employed not used for the hearing protectors fitted with the hearing of the protectors that shall be trained with the other use and care shall be required to use them. Employees are ready to provide with the hearing protectors shall be refitted and shall be retained with the use of the hearing protectors to offer the great attention the necessary shall be required to use them. 3. If the subsequent autometric test necessary for the railroad suspect the method of pathology of the ear that is caused is aggravated by the wearing of the hearing protector, the railroad shall refer to the employee for the clinical otological evaluation and the otological examination. 4. For the railroad suspects medical pathology with the ear unrelated with the hearing protector of the president with the railroad shall inform the employee need for the otological examination. Subsequent autometric tests of the employee with exposure noise less than 8 hours at TWA with 90 decibels indicate the standard threshold is not precision with the railroad shall inform the employee that the new autometric interpretation may discontinue the required use of the hearing protectors as for the employee. The revised baseline. A railroad shall have used the following method with revising baselines. Periodic autograms autometric test conducted with the February 26, 2009 and substituted with the baseline measurement with the professional supervisor for the autometric monitoring who been evaluating the autogram. If the standard threshold shift revealed with the autogram is precision and the hearing threshold shown, the periodic autogram indicates a significant improvement of the baseline autogram. The baseline autogram with autometric conducted with the February 26, 2009 shall be revised in accordance with the methods specified in Appendix C of this part, autometric baseline revisions. Standard threshold shift in determining whether the standard threshold shift occurred with the allowance made with the contribution aging the pressiobiascus to change the hearing level to correcting with the annual audiogram according to the procedures described in Appendix F as part of the calculation and application of the age for the correction with the audiogram. Alright, 227-111, autometric test requirements. Autometric test shall be pure tone, air conduction, hearing threshold, examination testing frequencies, including 5,000, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 600, 6,000, 8,000 hertz testing. Each frequency shall be taken separately. Each autometric test shall be conducted with autometers, including microprocessor autometer with the specification and with the maintained with the use of the accordance with the ANSI S36 and 2004 special autometer with the Director of Federal Register approved the incorporation reference standard in accordance with the Title 5 U.S. Standard Code 552A, Title 1 CFR Part 51. You may obtain the copy of the incorporated standards of the American National Standard Institute at 1819 L Street, North Washington, D.C. 236 or ANSI.org. You may inspect the copy of incorporated standard Federal Road Administration docket 1200 New Jersey Avenue, Southeast Washington, D.C. 20590, Washington, D.C. 2000005. National Archives Records Administration, or NARA. For more information availability, NARA call 202-741-6830 or go to the Archives.gov, Federal Register Code, Federal Regulations, IBR locations. Alright, Pole Stone autometers should be with the following on and off times. FJ and JK shall each of the values be 225 plus or minus 35 milliseconds. Uncertain earphones should be consistent with the requirements listed in the Appendix E of this part used in the insert of the earphones. Automatic testing. Autometric examination be administered with the room meeting with the requirements listed in Appendix D of this part. Autometric test rooms. Autometer calibration. The functional operation for the autometer should be checked before each of the days of the testing, but the person will know with the stable threshold for the appropriate calibration device listening to the autometer output to make sure that the output is free from distorted, unwanted sound deviation of 10 decibel greater that requires in acoustic calibration. Automated calibration shall be checked acoustically at least annually in accordance with the procedures in ANSI S36 2004, as in frequencies below 500 Hz and above 8,000 Hz may be omitted from this check. Autometer must meet the sound pressure accuracy requirements of the Section 7.2 of the ANSI S36 2004 of 3 decibels at any test frequencies between 500 to 5,000 Hz at 5 decibels at any frequency at 6,000 Hz or higher. Specific transducers used for air conditioner super oil airphone specifications of the Table 6 of the ANSI S36 2004 shall apply with the air conduction, air insert, airphones, and specifications of Table 7 ANSI S36 2004 shall apply with the autometers do not meet these requirements must undergo the exhaustive calibration. Exhaustive calibration and excessive calibration shall be performed in accordance with the ANSI S36 2004 according to the following schedule. At least once every 2 years for the autometers, not used for the multiple tests of the bands 2 and test frequency below the 500 Hz to 6,000 Hz omitted from this calibration at least and with the autometers used for the mobile testing bands. 227.113 Noise Operation Controls. Railroads may use noise operation controls at any sound level to reduce exposure to low levels below the required Table A1 of the Appendix A of the railroads encouraged to use the noise operation control for the employees that exposed to the sound exceeding 8-hour time weight of the 90 decibels. To the 27th of 115, hearing protectors. General requirements for the hearing protectors. The railroad shall provide hearing protectors for the employee. No confidence of the employee. The railroad shall replace the hearing protectors as necessary. When offering the hearing protectors, the railroad should consider the employee's ability to understand and respond to the voice, radio, communication, and audio warnings. The railroad shall give the employee opportunity to select the hearing protector. The variety of the suitable hearing protector selection shall include the device, the range, and actuation levels. The railroad should provide a training in the use of the care of the hearing of the protectors provided with the employee. The railroad should ensure the proper initial fitting of the supervisor with the correct using of all hearing protectors. Availability of the hearing protectors. The railroad shall make the hearing protectors available to all employees exposed with the sound level to meet the exceed of the action level. Required use of the action level. The railroad shall require use of the hearing protectors within an employee exposed to the sound level that meet the exceed of the action level the employee has. Not yet had a baseline autogram established in Statute 227.109. Expanding standard threshold shift is required to use the hearing protector for the Statute 227.109H. Required use of the TWA 90 decibel. The railroad shall require use of the hearing protector with an employee exposed to the sound levels equivalent to 8-hour TWA 90 decibels or greater. Hearing protectors should be used with the reduced sound level within the levels required in Appendix A of this part. Alright, 227.117, hearing of the protector actuation. The railroad shall evaluate the hearing protector actuation from the specific noise level in which the protector will be used. The railroad shall use one of the evaluation methods described in Appendix B of this part. Method is estimating the adequacy hearing protector actuation. Hearing protector shall actuate with the employee's exposure to an 8-hour TWA of 90 decibels or lower required in Statute 227.115. The employees that have the reference of the standard threshold shift hearing and protectors actuating the employee's exposure for the 8-hour time weighted average of the 85 decibels or lower. The adequacy hearing of the protector actuation shall be re-evaluated when the employee's noise exposure increases for the extent of the hearing of the protector provided, but the may no longer provide adequate actuation. Railroads should provide more effective hearing of the protectors when necessary. Alright, 227.119 training program. The railroad shall institute the Occupational Noise and Hearing Conservation Training Program for all employees, including the Hearing Conservation Program. The railroad shall offer the training programs in each of the employees, including the Hearing Conservation Program, at least once each calendar year. The interval between the date and offered with the end employment with the training of the calendar, the date offered with the subsequent calendar year shall be no more than 450 days, no less than 208 days. To the railroad shall require each of the employee to include a Hearing Conservation Program to complete the training at least once every 1,095 days. Railroad shall provide the training required for the paragraph 9A of this section in accordance with the following for employees hired after February 26, 2007, the 6 months of the employee's first tour of the duty position, identify the scope of this part. For employees hired on before February 26, 2001, the Class 1 passenger commuter railroads and railroads of 4,000 or more annual employees was no more later than February 26, 2009. For employees hired on before February 26, 2007, with the railroads fewer than 400,000 annual employees, the hours no later than February 26, 2010. The training program shall include the training materials shall reflect the minimum information of all the following: the effects of the noise hearing with the purpose of the hearing protected with the advantage of the disadvantage to attenuation, various types of the hearing protected, the instruct for the selecting, fitting, the use, the care of protectors, the purpose of the audiometric testing, the explanation of the testing procedure, for the explanation for the noise operation controls used, general information concerning the expected range of the work noise, the exposure level associated with the major control categories, railroad equipment, operation, switching, eroding, assessment, assignment, hump yards, manure, retarders, the appropriate reference for the requirement of the railroad concerning with the using of hearing protected, the purpose of the noise monitoring with the general description of the monitoring procedure, the availability of the copy of the part of the explanation requirement of the part of the effect of the response of the employee's right to access records under this part. 10. Determine what you can trigger when an excessive noise report pursuant to statute 229.121b and how to file excessive noise report pursuant to 229.121b. Record keeping. 227.121 record keeping. General requirements available for the records. Each railroad required to maintain and retain the records for this part. Make all the records available for the inspection. Copy the photocopying representative of the FRA upon request. Making an employee's record available for the inspection. Copy the photocopying to the employee, former employee, such person representative upon the written authorization of such employee. Alright, making expensive of the measurement with the given the run of the yard available for the inspection, copy the photocopying to all employees who represented the locomotive cab during the given the run of the working in the same yard. Exposure measurement of the record specification available to regional, national labor representative upon request. The report shall not contain and identify the information of the employee unless the employee authorized to release such information in writing. Electronic records. All records required for the part of the kept in electronic form of the railroad. A railroad may maintain transfer of records, electronic transmission, storage, and retrieval provided that the electronic system is designed so that the integrity of each of the railroad maintained with the appropriate level of security with the recognition, electronic signature, or other means of the uniquely identified with the initiating the person as the author of the record. No two persons shall have the same electronic identity. The electronic system shall ensure that each of the record cannot be modified in any way or replaced once the record is transmitted or stored. An amendment to the record electronically stored from the report, which is amended, but the amendment to the record shall be uniquely identified to the person making the amendment. The electronic system shall provide with the maintenance of the records as originally submitted with the corruption or the loss of product data. Paper copy of the electronic record with amendments of those records that may be necessary documented with compliance with the part that shall be made available to the inspection. Copy the photocopy of the representative of the FRO to transfer the records. If the railroad ceases for this business, it shall transfer the successor employer to all the records maintained under the subpart of the successor employer shall retain them from the remainder of the part but described in exposure measurement requirements. Records of the railroad shall maintain an accurate record of all the employees' exposure measurement required in statute 227.103 and retain these records of the duration covered with the employee's employment plus 30 years. The automated test record of the railroad shall maintain employee audiometric tests required within the statute 227.109, including the name of the job classification for the employee, the day of the audiogram, the examiner name, the day of the last acoustic exhaustive calibration audiometer, accurate record of the measurement of the background sound, pressure level of the audiometric test room, the model and serial number of the audiometer used for testing, retaining the records required with the statute 227.107 for the duration of the covered with the employees plus 30 years. Position and person designated with the record shall maintain a record of all the position person both in designated replace and hearing the conservation program pursuant to statute 227.107. Retain these records of duration, the designation of the training programs, maintain materials, railroads, the railroad shall maintain copy of all the training program material that you have the copy with the statute 227.119c with the record the employees to train. Retain these copies of the record for 3 years. If the standing threshold, the record of the railroad shall maintain a record of all the employees you have then found with the have experience standard threshold shift with the prior calendar year, but they include all the following information each of the employee on the record. Date of the employee baseline autogram. Date of the employee must receive autogram. Date of the establishment of the standard threshold of the employee. Job code. The indication of how many standard threshold shifts the employee has experienced in the past, if any. Retaining of these records for the 5 years. Alright, Appendix A, Part 227, knows exposure and computation. We're going to split the tape into the appendixes.